You think she's a good girl, but once you get to know her, you realize she's everything. She's crazy, she's funny, she's honest, and you'll never know what she'll do next.
Okay, thank you for coming back. We are here today. I'm so excited with Caryn Hacker-Buechel. She said to say her name Buechel. We just false started because I said, wait, turn on the camera. I don't know how to say her last name. But anyway, you can see it on the screen there. Go ahead, you say it.
It's Caryn Hacker-Buechel.
Anyway, this is my new really good girlfriend, and I met her at a Speakpreneur event. You know, I'm going to all these speaking events. I'm putting my self out there to be able to speak for events and for retreats and all this stuff. And so is Caryn. And we met at this wonderful event and here in Naples, Florida. And lo and behold, we really struck it off. And then we got to talking, and we have more in common than we thought. And we want to make this episode particularly in memory of my parents, Richard and Jeannie Bush, and her mother,
Evelyn Bellman Sabas.
And this is going to be about fear, loss, you know, what we've gone through, what the stories and things that have happened to us that we can share with you. If you're going through something like this, we really sympathize, and we know what it's like. We know what you're going through, and it's a difficult time for everyone, right?
Yes.
But anyway, so that's how we met. Now tell me about your background.
My background is I'm a psychotherapist with over 30 years experience who retired, but I don't know that psychotherapists ever retire. So I still love to talk, think, kind of go on about human behavior and what that means. So I'm a funny combination because I'm also very intuitive. I'm very spiritual since I was a little kid.
I love that.
Well, I was in, how does science blend with that kind of spirituality and intuition? So this time of my life is particularly interesting because everything's kind of colliding. So in the break, after I retired, I became an author.
And that's amazing. How many books have you written?
Two books. One for children and this last
Show
one.
them.
We have A Bully Grows Up. Where am I showing? Eric Meets the Wizard. And which is the first book ever written to the bully to change bullying behavior. The therapeutic threads of change are woven into the storyline. It has never been done before or since. It's more than 10 years old. But the new one, and this is for you.
Thank you.
But the new one that I really love is The General's Princess.
Now, what was your inspiration for this book?
I actually knew someone that took a job working in Saudi Arabia for a princess.
Okay.
And that's all my brain needed. And it took off into none of the rest of it was real.
Right.
Other than that little inkling. And it what came out was a thriller. But because of my background, there is psychological complexity built into every character that, as far as I'm concerned, really a regular author could not capture. And then
Now, how many years did you work as a psychotherapist?
Yeah.
How many years?
Over 30.
30. How many years have you been not working with that now?
About 8.
8. Wow, that's amazing.
So, yeah. And this took 10 years. To do this because I kind of got afraid of what I was writing, so I quit for a few years. Then I teamed up with a retired general, and because I knew I needed some help with the military. There is a military essence to this book. There's Washington, D.C. Situation Room. There's human trafficking. There's kidnapping.
Wow.
But these are all very much trauma-driven issues, trauma-driven experiences. Some characters in the book heal, but a lot don't. And I'm also a narcissist and I'm a relationship expert.
You are a narcissist?
I am a narcissist expert.
Like, whoa, I've never had to say that
Yeah.
before.
No, and you
Just in
never-
case you're wondering, I'm a narcissist.
No. That,
I didn't get that from our first meeting.
and that would be shocking. But no, because of life and my profession,
An expert. You're an
I
expert. You
became
recognize.
a narcissism expert.
And well, what intrigued me about you the most when I was doing your background check it was that you were so big in knowledge of PTSD,
Yes.
which is post-traumatic stress disorder, which I went through in Miami when I went through a bunch of things that kind of led to that. And it was just really a really difficult point in my life. And so I kind of wanted to know a little bit about that. Like, what is the first thing that you would recommend to somebody that has PTSD?
Well, I think the first thing is making sure that they understand the pieces that have to be in place in order to even call it that. So you need to have increased startle response. There needs to be a precipitating event, either one that you experience yourself, one that you witness, or something told to you in such descriptive pieces that you have this reaction.
Right.
And then comes the symptoms. So increased startle response, hypervigilance, you're always on guard. A death of a loved one may not cause, probably wouldn't cause PTSD.
Well, this is something that I went through years ago.
Okay.
When I was in Miami, and it led to me moving to Boca, Palm Beach, and now I'm back here in January. Back home. I'm back home in Naples because this is more home to me than anywhere. So I really feel like I'm back home. And the wonderful thing is that when you surround yourself with wonderful people, or and then these wonderful people are also, and I think it's wonderful. They're being attracted to me. Like they've got these books. Like I want to write. I'm writing a book. They're speakers. I'm a speaker. Like this is my circle, and it's all about who you have in your circle. What's this saying? When you want to see where you're going to be in 5 years, you look at the worst person in your circle. Yeah. The worst person in your circle. You look at where you want to be in 5 years. You got to be really wary of the people you have around you, right?
Pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Not only the energy that they draw to you, but the comments made. And so being in a supportive tribe and a supportive circle of people is really important. And recently going through the death of my mom, it was very interesting to see the girlfriends, but who called, who left notes, who checked in every few days, wanting nothing more than to know, was I okay?
Yeah.
And that really is important because, whether it's PTSD or it's mourning a loss, it really is an individualistic issue. Mm-hmm. And so for PTSD, eventually it'd be great to see, of course, I'm going to say a therapist to help guide you through that. And you can compile that with spiritual institutions, whatever you would need that to be to help you. But my bent is going to be always seek the professional that has that background.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, so then let's talk about your mother that just died. My father died in 2023. My mother died years ago, but they're just now, because of some things that happened, their ashes have never been put together in Panama. So I was thinking of this funny story, actually, is when I was in Indiana. We took we had like some kind of reunion in Indiana because my dad was there getting heart treatment and treatment from my brother, who's an amazing chiropractor there, Dr. Richard Bush. And we had my sister, who had my mom's ashes in Panama, brought them. And so then they're sitting in my family house in Indiana. And then something happened where I think it must have been 4th of July weekend. That 4th of July has always been a big weekend in our family. My dad and mom always had a big party. And this particular weekend, I think my nephew, Ricky, was lighting a fire, lighting a sparkler, and something happened in his hand, like freaking almost and it blew off,
Yeah.
So my sister-in-law, Jennifer, freaked out and said, we've got to get these ashes out of the house. They can't be in the house. So here we are, looking like the Three Stooges, like the Four Stooges, because it was my dad, me, and my youngest brother, JR, his wife, Andrea. We're all driving around Fort Wayne, Indiana with my mom's ashes in the car. Like my sister-in-law didn't want to have them in the house anymore. It was just my mom. I was like, what's wrong with my mom? You know, she's not doing this, but she had read or heard somewhere that it was going to cause, that might be the reason that these things were happening. So anyway, that's the memory I have of these ashes of my mom's driving around in Fort Wayne, trying to figure out what to do with them, going to these monasteries and cemeteries and price checking how much it's going to be to put mom there when it doesn't really have any reason for her. So then what we finally did was my sister Tundi said, well, that's okay. I'm going to take her home and put her in my basement. So that's what she did. That's what she did. She took my mom home and she's been sitting in her basement for like a year. And then finally I'm in the family chat saying, hey, look, we got to do something with mom's ashes. We got to put them together with dad's. So that's what's going to be happening. June 20th is my mom's birthday. I'm going to be in Panama for the celebration. And that's the weekend that our podcast here is going live. And so just so you know, that's where I'll be. That's why we're filming this early. But I thought it was really ironic that we're talking about death here. And that is the weekend that we're finally getting my mom's ashes put with my father's in Panama. And so they'll finally be joined. Yeah, but that's a funny story. I mean, like when I was sitting there driving around Fort Wayne, Indiana, in the back seat with my mom's ashes in the middle, and we'd already broken off like the handle to the vase that they were in, like accidentally. Like it was just such a comedy of errors. I can't even tell you.
I think there's beauty to that story.
It was hilarious. Well, it's just, it's our family. There's always something funny going on.
It's also the meaning that other people put to that either causes it to be calming or causes it to be dramatic or adds in their own fears to, I mean, those are ashes. And the only way to understand that story is then just really think, what did that mean to them? That something else could be happening because, mom's ashes are here. I mean, with the death of my mom, which I don't know if you remember this, but at the conference. Look
at the camera. That's why I keep looking at the camera. When they cut this in shorts, we're going to be on top of each other. Okay, so it's better if we're looking at the camera right there.
Middle one. All right. So we met because we were actually standing together at the conference, the Speakpreneur conference. And this other woman came walking up, this beautiful woman, young, very young, says to me, oh, hi, it was a break. Oh, this is what you do. You wander around, you talk to people, you get to know who else is there with you, who's interested in whatever you're interested in. And I tell her, well, I'm a retired psychotherapist, but I'm also an author. And she says, oh, that'd be great. What do you know? I'm a trained clinical hypnotist. Oh, maybe we can do some work together. And the woman turns to walk away. And she turns around and comes back. And I think by that point, you were talking to somebody else. But she said to me, I'm a psychic healer. And did your mother just pass? I mean, it was like one of the first words out of her mouth. And tears filled my eyes. And I went, not unless you're telling me something right now. I had been going with greater frequency to Kentucky, where my parents lived, my sister and brother and their families lived, and my mother had been getting sicker and sicker. I knew that hospice was there. I had just left 4 days before that. And she says to me, well, when do you go there again? And I said, I leave a week from Sunday. And she said, well, your mother says that she is very ready to go, which I knew. I knew that most of the time. 98% of the time she was saying that. There's a couple 2%, she was still a fighter. And she'd really been struggling. And then she looked at me very sweet and said, but she doesn't think she can stay until you get there. And I got the call just a few days later that, at that moment I didn't think, oh, I should jump in a plane. Yeah. I really do believe that mother,
you told me about that.
She decided. Yeah. And I'll honor that that was her decision. My older sister wasn't there, my brother was there, and my dad was in another room. So, I have it's kind of a different perspective now than just the professional perspective on what to say and how to help people with that loss, whether the loss is divorce or you lost a best friend or whatever happened when you got PTSD, or there's a method of helping somebody through that kind of a road. But now I'm looking into the abyss and I'm needing to figure out on a more feeling level what was meaningful to me and how to proceed. So it's a stage in life that no one gets to not go through in one form or another, and everyone's life has pain, no matter your situation. And all of that comes together to figure out who you are, how you handle things, how you're going to keep yourself together. And so that has been part of what I've been doing the last few weeks, is really honing in on what is my perspective on that, and looking at theories of grief and loss, and also looking at all the little things that happened at the time of her death. So I have a question for you, Tracy. When your dad died, did you experience anything related to actually his essence?
I had a dream. I will say that when my mom passed, I've never really felt that my mom was with me. I honestly have never felt anything like that. But when my dad died, I did have a dream a couple of times. I've had instances where I felt like
it's okay.
He was there.
He was there. And, my dad, here's my father, married to my mother 73 years. Had been together, so they were together longer than that because they started dating in high school, when that was kind of a little forbidden, that they were still together all through that time. But my father's a scientist and retired. And
your dad's still alive?
Yes, my dad's still
alive. Tell how old he is.
He's 94 and
like,
3/4.
Doing great. Kicking it.
Yeah, drives a car. Wow. Be careful. Those of you. He does his own grocery shopping, and he really took care of my mother in the most loving manner. I told him afterwards he did a great job, and he looked at me and he went, "Caryn, that was not a job." And so that they loved each other. And
how long were they together?
Oh my God, more than 73. They were married 73 years.
Wow.
So
that's wonderful.
We'll give them an extra 7 years. But so there's longevity in my family. But here's my dad, who did cancer research, says the first night that he was in they live in I will still say that, adult living community. It's beautiful. In Louisville, Kentucky, and
James gave us the
I know
for Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky. But he got up woke up in the middle of the night. This is the first night she's not there, and no one is in the house. I think my nephew stayed the very first night, and after that, he wanted to be there. And he said the bed was vibrating. And then he got afraid, and he thought, "Oh, there must be. I don't know. It's an earthquake."
Is there a vibrating bed?
No. And so he ran into the other room. She died on the 25th, and so of the 25th of May. So we're just right after that.
Wow.
And he ran into they have a little living room looking for what was wrong. And he said the walls of that room were vibrating. Okay. Do I have a question in my being that was my mother's energy? No. Their relationship, honestly, was, I have not experienced that degree of longevity or closeness or, really that beautiful a depiction of love.
They were still
And
very in
so,
love.
you know, for him, they'd stayed in this little double bed. It wasn't even a queen bed all these years. And so to think
My
that,
dad used to say he went like the littler bed so mom couldn't get away.
yeah, like that, like that.
Yeah.
Yep. And, you know, so that was the scientist saying, oh yeah, she was here.
Is that the kind of energy you're talking about?
That's, well, and for me, it was different. I don't, if you do know what tapping, about tapping?
I've heard of it. I can't remember what it is.
Tapping, the technique, it uses the meridians like acupuncture, only
Okay.
you're tapping.
Okay.
Okay. So it's a thing, it's a tool. It's in the toolbox, therapy toolbox. So this one day my mother was in horrible pain. So I tapped her and I'm tapping away. Hospice aides are there and the nurse is there and they're like, and my mother took my hand and went, stop that. So I'm like, okay. She didn't like it. Whatever it was doing, she didn't like. And she was really struggling there at the end. So I was back in Naples, find out, because my brother called me that mom had passed. I go in outside. We have a big house, but we're out by this pool, and I can feel this tapping.
Did your parents live in your house?
No.
With you?
No.
We're going to talk about our house. We're going to talk about our house. It's a very huge house here in Naples. It's on the point, which if you go out in the boat in Naples, right there on the corner, you'll see this beautiful monstrosity.
Pink.
That they bought, like, what did you say,
in the
30 years ago?
Yeah.
And anyway, I don't mean to interrupt your story about the tapping.
That's okay.
But I just wanted to point out where we're talking
I can write about princesses because I kind of live like one. And I understand that, you know, luxury and money, it doesn't give you a life without drama or pain or issues that you have to still figure out.
Is that the house that's for sale or is that your house?
That's not my house. That's
the
the condo.
We're going to talk about that on the real estate minute.
That's my house. Everybody's seen this house. And they talk, you know, my husband's a famous surgeon, orthopedic surgeon, so they talk about him on the boats that go.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. I've seen it many times. I didn't know. I told her I want to come over to your house.
We're going to do that.
Yes, I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. Yeah. But anyway,
So we were by that pool.
So your mom and dad did not live here with you?
No, but they visited up until they were too old to keep coming. And I could feel this tapping, external tapping on my chest. And it went on for minutes. Okay. That was my mother. And because it was tapping.
That was the day that she passed.
That was within minutes. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. That is so intuitive. That is.
Oh.
I was always kind of sad. I never felt like I had a message from my mother. You know, maybe I did. Maybe I missed it. I don't know. Or maybe I still will.
You still can.
You know.
You still can. You know, I was looking at all these different theories of how people cope with loss and mourning and death. And, you know, when I was in school, it was all that was really taught was Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's stages. So you move through these stages. There's denial, there's bargaining, there's anger, and then there's really terrible sadness, and then you end up at some form of acceptance. And that never filled me. Like it just wasn't enough. So the one that I really like is called bonding connection. And whatever that bond was, you keep that going. You nurture that so you can still talk to your loved one. And the other day, it was something ridiculous. I was making a chicken and I wanted to tell my mother. So I would normally call her and we talk about it. I tell her the recipe and I couldn't do that. So the wave of sadness came and I'm sobbing and you really kind of, especially at first, never know when that's going to happen. Yeah. And then I realized I could talk to her whenever I want to. Woo! Oh, I have goosebumps now. That was so freeing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something that I now nurture, or items of hers, or she called it, especially when she was really sick at the end, every day at 9:30
In the morning.
in the morning. Even if all it was, I made it through another night and
Yeah.
here. Yeah. And so now at 9:30, we talk. And and I think that it's very personal for your mom. I would go back and create that. I would create that connection from the grown-up you talking to the younger you, where your mother is, so that you can still have a piece of that. I want to hug you. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, because, no matter what we do, good or bad, that's still where we came from. So,
yes, I know.
yeah.
It's such a blessing, right? At least we have these wonderful parents that, know, we were blessed with.
Yes.
So the big, and what a quote or a meme that I saw on Facebook the other day was, and it's about, you have kids, right?
Yes.
It's about how you raise these kids to be strong and to live without you. And then when they don't need you anymore, you can't help but be a little bit
heck?
sad.
Yeah.
But that's what you raise your kids to be, and that's what they have done for us. And so they would be so proud, and so happy that we've living on. And
she would say toward the end, she kind of had a stilted view of what hospice was. So she would literally, little fists in the air, and she would yell at the hospice doctor, what else do I have to do? I've raised wonderful kids, and they're all on, taking care of themselves. And I have grandchildren and great grandchildren, and I still love my husband. What else do I have to do? The fact I was there during that conversation allowed me to then interject, well, wait a minute. Are you saying that your reward for living a good life should be control of your death? It was deep. And then to have to say to her, it doesn't work that way. Sorry, Mom, you're going to have to find joy every day until you're not here, because you don't have that kind of control. Yeah, none of us do.
mm-hmm.
So it becomes a bigger ordeal as a grown up. And I was sheltered for a very long time because my parents are, they live to be pretty old.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what my dad does. He's telling me he's going to live to be 100 right now, but we'll see. That's a good sign, because his grief is
wonderful. Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
Can't imagine.
Huge. It's huge.
Well, anyway, on that note, we're going to have the real estate meeting. Caryn has this, her family is so involved with real estate. So this is another wonderful find for my network. And she has this wonderful home for sale right now in Olde Naples. I believe didn't I say it was 3.5, 3 bedrooms and a den and 4 bathrooms. And it's a little bit over 3,000 total square feet. And if you want information on this, please reach out to me. James is going to show you a few pictures, but reach out to me, Tracy Bush Pate. I'm going to have all my contact information below, and I'd love to be your buyer's agent so I can help you get this amazing place in Olde Naples. This is where the high society live, in Olde Naples. And are you in Port Royal? That's in Port Royal, right?
No, I'm in Aqualine Shores.
Oh, okay.
But from the condo, you can walk to Fifth. You can walk to Third. Area. There's great coffee shops and shopping and restaurants. It's a great location.
Yeah. So contact me if you want more information about that as well. But it's just a beautiful find. And so I wanted to share that with you too. And please subscribe to this message. If you are still watching, I think you liked it. So hit that like button, share it with somebody, and also post a message down below. Let us know what you're feeling. Are you going through loss in your life? How is it affecting you? We're all students, right? We're all just trying to learn from each other to figure out what the right way to handle things is. And you are an excellent teacher. Thank you, my friend.
You, my
And I'm going to have all of her
friend.
contact information in the bio below, as well as James Henderson, our beautiful tech guy back here. James, do you have any questions for Caryn about loss?
You guys covered so much stuff that I just can't add anything.
Except your beautiful picture.
Yeah,
I told James this morning, I
my
said,
head's
James,
shiny.
I said, I think you need to have a little picture there every time you talk. Because I said, it's just been a voice. And he said, no, this is your show. I don't want it to, you can have the spotlight. And I'm like, well, okay, James. But I said, if you want to, please, I'd like you to put your picture up.
Well,
So everybody can have a picture of the handsome man that you are.
You are.
This is my tech crew. This is our tech crew.
yeah, I used to be tough and ruthless. Now I'm just rough and toothless. So I'm just the whole thing.
I don't know about that.
But I think I see.
No, he's an awfully charming man, and he's the lead pastor at my church, the Celebration Beach Church here in Cambier Park. So that's where I go every Sunday at 9:30. It's wonderful. My daughters are like, "Don't tell everybody where you are, Mom." They're like, oh. But anyway, do you have anything more to share?
No.
I was going to ask you if we have a little bit more time. I was going to ask you about how you met your husband, because
It's a funny
now,
story.
is this your first husband, your only husband?
No.
Yeah.
I have.
You had a short marriage first, right?
No, I had a 14-year marriage.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I found out that he was doing things not
The first husband.
helpful. Yes, not helpful to the
Okay.
marriage.
Next.
He
next.
lives in Naples, so we're not going to talk
How
about
many
that.
more years was it before you found this, or this man found you? How did you meet? How many years did it take? I have to know, because I've got 15 years after my first 17-year marriage. So I'm looking for that last marriage. So.
I had a girlfriend I was living in Omaha, brought me to Naples, and her stepmom left a note. Here are places to go. So we went to the beach and we were doing all the stuff. And one of
Who's
her
we?
places, Caryn Hacker-Buechel,
You
is
and
her
his
name.
girlfriend.
Yes.
Okay.
A tough little attorney. And so we stayed in her dad's condo, and she's like, I just need to get you out of Omaha. So we came here, and one of the places on there it's not there anymore. It was a bar called the Witch's Brew.
Oh my gosh, I remember that place. There. There, but my ex-husband used to hang with that crowd.
Well,
Okay.
so
You probably know my ex-husband.
I went there, and no one would talk to me. So somehow I had this energetic bubble around me. Literally, no one would talk to me. I couldn't get a drink. Some guy came up, started talking to me, and I wasn't really in a very good place. And he said, oh, let me introduce you to my friend. And Fred was actually on his way out the door, and that is how I met Fred.
And was it love at first sight?
It was close, yeah.
And so how long did you date before you got married?
We dated almost 10 years. And
you dated 10 years?
Well,
He wasn't
you
sure,
know.
or you weren't sure.
Oh, yeah, it was me. It's me. And I still have that part of me.
Took him 10 years to prove himself.
Well, part of it was him. He had this bigger, financial life than me. So, and during that time period in the middle, when I talked to the universe, when I say that, I mean God in the universe, and I drew pictures, and my ask was for financial security for me and my son, who's now 40. And I could have added and should have added some other things. But I was panicking, and I was working. I had a full-time practice, and it was in another state. And I think God stepped in and moved with my ex-husband to New Jersey, which is where Fred had his practice. So it was beyond me.
Yesterday, your home came up on my computer, just like I typed in the address, and then something from Reddit came up and said what the value is. Do you mind if I say?
I don't even know, so go ahead.
It said $28,600,000. That's her home where she lives. And she said, well, some people think there's a bowling alley, but it's not a bowling alley. It's a what?
It's a squash court.
Squash court. In your home. Oh no! The water is not behind your home.
At Naples Bay.
Yeah, it's just beautiful.
So when you go by in your boat, give it a little beep,
honking, and I'll be over there sitting with her.
You can recognize Tracy.
Wait a minute.
We'll have ice.
With my new girlfriend.
That's right.
Anyway, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you and glad that we're friends and we're going to learn so much from each other about how to help and service more people.
We are
out there. Anyway,
thank
you guys for tuning in. Thanks to James Henderson, my tech crew back there. And we love you, and let us know how we can help you in the future. Subscribe, like, share, post, and we're here for you every Thursday. We're going to post a new video. Talk to you soon. Love you guys. Bye.